If you think silence is weakness, you're already being outplayed. Watch closely, because in the next few minutes I'll reveal how the quiet rewire rooms, read people like open books, and speak once to change everything. The people who use the fewest words often see the most. They aren't fading into the background. They're collecting the room, every pause, every shift in posture, every tiny tremor in a sentence. While the rest of us paint with noise, they sketch with noticing. Those folks aren't empty. They're full of impressions, full of connections, full of questions they test before releasing even one into the air. To them, speech is a currency, and they don't spend it on impulse. They invest it where it matters. Maybe you've been told you're too quiet. Maybe that label stuck to you like a name tag you never asked for. Let me offer another translation. You're precise. You're careful with your energy. You don't confuse volume with value. We live in a culture that pays by the decibel. Loud often looks like confident. Fast can pass for smart. The biggest voice can win the shortest argument. But depth doesn't shout. Depth doesn't sprint. Depth endures. And people who speak less are often building depth while everyone else is performing certainty. Think about the person in every meeting who rarely jumps in. When they finally do, the room leans forward. That isn't accident. That's gravity. Presence earned by restraint. When you don't throw words around, your words carry weight. Quiet people operate differently. They run mental simulations in real time. What's being said? What's underneath it? Who needs space here? What outcome actually helps? It isn't indecision. It's layered thinking. They're not only composing a sentence, they're running it through filters: truth, timing, consequence, care. That processing power creates a different kind of fluency, nonverbal fluency. The softening in someone's eyes when the topic hurts. The half-second delay before a fine that means anything but. The way the atmosphere changes when a certain name comes up. Many don't just hear words. They read the weather inside people. And yes, for a lot of them, solitude isn't avoidance. It's charging the battery. If you draw your strength from the inside, crowds and constant chatter can feel like standing in the wind too long. You come home depleted, so you step into quiet the way a diver steps into air. It's not isolation, it's oxygen. There's another layer that often gets missed. Some people didn't choose quiet first. Quiet chose them. Maybe they grew up in rooms where speaking was a sport and listening was a rumor, where the fastest answer won and the truest answer never arrived. In places like that, silence becomes shelter. Over time, that shelter becomes a home with locks that only open for those who actually listen. Those locks aren't walls, they're boundaries. The difference is love. But don't mistake boundaries for apathy. The quiet often care so deeply they refuse to treat words like confetti. They don't toss out promises they can't keep or opinions they haven't examined. They will sit with your story until they feel its shape. And when they do speak, it's not to perform, it's to serve. Self-control lives here too. In a world addicted to instant reactions, choosing the pause is radical. The pause is where anger loses its grip. The pause is where clarity finds a foothold. People who master the pause don't lack emotion. They refuse to let emotion drive the car. Of course, there's a cost. When you notice everything, you carry more than most. You sense the unhappiness behind jokes. You catch the tension others step over. You absorb the static of rooms buzzing with unspoken things. That's why stillness can feel like medicine. Not running away, wringing out the sponge. And yet, the same sensitivity that makes life heavy also makes it luminous. The quiet are often the first to spot beauty no one else mentions. The way someone's voice warms when they talk about their brother. The tiny courage in a text that simply says, "You around?" They're tuned to frequencies that reward patience. Creativity loves that frequency. Ideas don't always arrive in the blast of a brainstorm. Some grow in low light. They need spacing. They need compost. They need the long walk, the shower, the page you stare at until the sentence steps forward on its own. People who don't chase noise give ideas a place to land. That's why their contributions can feel distilled, not rushed, refined. But there's a paradox here. Quiet people often want connection as much as anyone, sometimes more. They want to be known without being dragged into the spotlight. They want conversation that means something, not conversation that fills something. And when they do open up, it can feel almost sacred, like being invited into a library after hours. You don't yell in there. You whisper. You notice. You say thank you. If you love someone like this, here's how to meet them well. Don't interrogate their silence. Respect it. Don't force the pace. Match it. Ask real questions and give them time to answer. Learn to hear the sentences they speak with presence. Showing up. Remembering the detail you forgot you shared. Checking on you 2 weeks after everyone else moved on. That's their language. Learn it, and you'll hear them everywhere. And if you are this person, if quiet has been your companion and sometimes your camouflage, let me talk directly to you. You don't owe anyone noise to be worthy. You don't have to turn up your volume to prove you have a voice. Your way of being is not a glitch in the social algorithm. It's a different operating system, one that prizes accuracy over applause, comprehension over competition. You're allowed to protect your energy. You're allowed to speak when you're ready. You're allowed to bring a notebook to the party and leave early without a speech. You can say, "Give me a minute," and mean, "I'm crafting something honest." That's not stalling. That's integrity. You're also allowed to stretch. Silence can shelter. It can also hide. Sometimes the bravest thing you'll do is risk saying the thing you've been polishing in your chest for a year. So if you're watching this with headphones on in a corner or in the quiet of your car before you go inside, keep your pace. Keep your presence. Let the world come to your frequency once in a while. You don't have to shout to be heard where it matters. You just have to tell the truth, when you're ready, with the kind of care that leaves a mark. Words explain thoughts. Stillness reveals meaning. And the spaces between what we say, that's where a lot of life breathes. If you live there more than most, don't apologize. Build something beautiful from it. Thanks for watching. Love decoding what drives people. Subscribe to Alpha Reveals. Tap like to push this to more curious minds. And share to spread smarter conversations.